This tutorial walks you through a use case for integrating AWS Step Functions and several other AWS services. AWS Step Functions enables service orchestration, which gives you a clear view of the services and their inputs and outputs. In this video, you are going to learn foundations of service orchestration, integrating step functions and several other services, workflow management, asynchronous messaging with SNS. First step: create topics and table. First, you create 2 topics using the Amazon SNS service. A topic plays the role of a communication channel that our workflow uses to inform actors. In this project, we have 2 actors. The customer is responsible for starting the workflow by submitting a loan request, whereas the business analyst is responsible for analyzing the loan request and approving or rejecting the request. Second, you create a DynamoDB table. This table stores only approved loan requests. Head over to the Amazon SNS console and create 2 standard topics, one for each actor in our project. Then, use 2 different emails for subscribing to each topic. After that, check out your email for you must confirm your subscription. You can now check that your subscriptions are confirmed. Next, open the DynamoDB console and create a table. Set a string ID as your partition key. Although you can accept the default configuration, we change it to using an on-demand capacity for this video. Second step: design workflow. In this step, you use the AWS Step Functions service for designing and, later, executing your loan request workflow. The workflow interacts with AWS resources previously created, which requires permissions. Go to the AWS Step Functions console, and create a new state machine. State machine is the name Step Functions service uses for a workflow. The central area is the canvas where you visually design your workflow. A Step Functions state machine consists of states, which can be grouped as actions or flows. Start by dragging a choice flow. The choice flow evaluates a given entry, and take an action according to the entry value. For this choice, we have two rules. Each rule represents a path. This choice creates an integration with the DynamoDB table, storing loan requests less than 5,000 in value. The first rule creates an entry to the DynamoDB. Find and drag the DynamoDB put item action to the first rule. Then, update the put item that are sent to DynamoDB. Notice that you use variables to represent the values received by the workflow. For the default rule, choose a pass flow. This flow just moves the workflow execution to the next task. The default choice creates an integration with a SNS topic. This topic warns the business analyst on a loan request greater than 5,000. The workflow waits until the business analyst informs its decision. Drag the SNS publish action just above the pass flow. Set the topic Step Functions is gonna publish to. And enter the message to be published. This message consists of the amount requested and a token. The workflow waits until the business analyst decides. Once the business analyst emits its response, he sends the token back to Step Functions, and the workflow carries on its execution. The next step consists of setting actions for both approving and rejecting the loan request. As before, if the request is approved, the amount requested is stored in the DynamoDB table. Otherwise, The customer is notified. Drag another choice into your workflow, and set the rules according to the status of business analyst analysis. In the case the request is rejected, send a message to the other SNS topic. Either way, the workflow ends. The workflow needs permission to interacting with other AWS services. Therefore, before saving your workflow, choose the option that creates a new execution role. This automatically creates all required permissions based on the workflow integrations. Third step. Build API. In this step, we use the API Gateway service to create a REST API that starts the workflow execution and sets whether a loan request is accepted or rejected. As usual, API Gateway needs permissions to integrate other services on your behalf. Go to the IAM service and create a role enabling API Gateway to call Step Functions actions. Then, open the API Gateway console, and build a REST API. Create a resource to starting the workflow execution. And integrate it to the Step Functions workflow previously created. Next, map the API body to the Step Functions parameters. In this example, the input is the loan request, and the state machine ARN is a fixed value representing the workflow previously defined. Create another resource for accepting a request. In this case, the action resumes the workflow. We need to inform the decision about the request, the amount requested, and the task token generated by the workflow. Finally, create a resource for denying the loan request. As before, this action resumes the workflow. But the information sent means the request was rejected. Last step: test and clean up. In this step, we use the API Gateway console to perform both a business analyst and a customer role, testing the whole integration among services. First off, create a new workflow execution requesting a loan with automatic approval. As you can see, the request is listed in the DynamoDB table. Then, increase the request the value that requires analysis. You can check the Step Functions console to see the workflow is in execution. As a business analyst, check out your email. Use the task token to reject the request. As you can see, the workflow is now done. As a customer, you can check your email to see that your loan request is rejected. Create another loan request, but accept it this time. To clean up the resources used in this video, start deleting the API. Next, delete the role API gateway used to access step functions. Then, delete your workflow. And both SNS topics you created in the first step of this tutorial. Finally, delete the DynamoDB table.